Yeah.
So I've gotten the majority of the parts I'm going to need. There's head bolts, piston rings, oil pump, pickup tube, or the other way around. Gasket set. And can someone tell me how to pronounce that? Mahali? I don't know. I thought they only made European parts. The first time I ever heard of those was in Volkswagen parts. I thought they were a European company. Maybe they are. I don't know. But that's what kind of gaskets and head bolts I got. And I didn't get ARP head bolts because that's just overkill for this. And that's a problem I had, finding aftermarket bolts that weren't overkill. But I don't want to reuse them. But before I can do anything with this stuff, I have to clean this nasty block first. Do you see how nasty this thing is? I'm going to show you. I still have my oil pressure gauge on there. I'm going to get this thing so clean without going to a machine shop in a hot tank that you're not going to believe it. Oh, there's no light over here. Turn the light on. And this one. I moved my car out of the garage. You probably noticed. That's why there's stuff everywhere, because I'm trying to give everything a home. This thing was out of a Bronco, so of course I'm sure they went mudding in that bad boy. They took that Bronco out there, and they got stuck out in the mud, and then they got to get pulled back with the tow trap, and they probably hooked chains with somebody. Or something like that. All this is going to be clean. And the oil galleys. And the way I plan on cleaning the oil galleys out is I'm going to pour some kerosene down in here and pump it through with the distributor or the oil pump drive. And I don't know if that's going to work or not, but I'm going to try it because it seems like something worth trying. So I thought about using mineral spirits or acetone, which I could do that, but it's expensive. For, you know, a gallon's $20. Thought about using diesel fuel or kerosene or gasoline. Gasoline is the thinnest. Kerosene is kind of in the middle. So try to use kerosene or diesel fuel. It depends on which one is cheaper at the gas pump, really, at the gas station. And I don't even think there's only one place in town to get kerosene. But I'm going to try that. I don't know if the viscosity of it is going to be enough, thick enough to build any pressure, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I'll show you how I'm going to clean all this other stuff up too. So I cleaned the push rods already. I soaked them in acetone overnight. Well, actually for about 2 days, because I kind of forgot about them. But anyways, then I pulled them out and I sprayed this with brake cleaner and wiped it off. Oh, sorry about that. I use this brake cleaner. I bought this from the dealership I used to work at. It's like, I don't know about now, I hadn't bought any in a while, but it's a lot cheaper than at AutoZone, whatever. But it's pretty good brake cleaner. This side I haven't brake cleaned off, but you see that's just after sitting in acetone, then that's wiping off with brake clean after acetone. And you may be asking, why do I have these zip ties on here? So that's a trick I learned a very long time ago when I worked at CAT. This was something that I was taught to me from, I wish I could remember who taught me there. It doesn't matter. A lot of cool guys up there. It was one of them. What they would do up there is, when you have a hydraulic line that connects, you have on the equipment, right, you'll have like, you may have 50 hydraulic lines going to fittings that are really close together. So you'll mark like an orange line to an orange fitting, red to a red fitting. And then when you run out of colors, then you'll start doubling up. So you can match what hose goes back to where. So basically what I was doing here is I was marking each one with zip ties for what number it goes in. Like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zip ties on here. So this is the 6th push rod back. So I started at the number 1. You know, so number 1 push rod would have 1 zip tie. The number 1 second, you know, number 1 cylinder second push rod have 2 on it. Number 2 first lifter will have 3, 4, so on and so forth. So that's what that's about. Just so I can keep them in order. I mean, it shouldn't really matter since I'll probably get different lifters and I'm definitely running different rocker arms. but just a tip, I guess. So I poured kerosene in the engine. I poured it all in the lifter valley, and then I stuck a funnel in the distributor hole, and I poured kerosene down there. Now I'm going to take this drill, and I'm going to spin the distributor, the oil pump shaft, or oil pump shaft drive, and I'm going to see if this will build any pressure, and then once we get the engine apart, we can see if it actually cleaned anything. Let's find out. This kerosene, flat out, stinks. So I'm going to turn this and see if this is going to build any pressure with this kerosene in here, or is this viscosity... Oh, wait, you know what? I got to put the other lifter back in. The one that wasn't pumping up, I soaked it in some acetone again, so I need to clean it out and put it back in before I do this. I moved the camera so I can see the gauge a little better, and I put the lifter in, so now we are ready to turn it. Let's see what we got. There is actually fluid coming out of the lifters. I'm gonna move this over here. You can see. Okay, watch this. So I was right about the viscosity was not going to be enough to build any pressure, and the oil is not coming through all the lifters, but it is going through the galleys because as you can see, it's making it to most of the lifters. The number 4 intake is still not having anything come through it. So I'm going to just get another set of lifters. Looks like I have to. I'm not really sure how well that kerosene actually cleaned anything, but I was just, giving it a try. But that looks, that looks cleaner than the Fairlane Oil Pan did when I took it off. Of course, it's been sitting for a while, but I'll show you. You see all that that's at the very bottom? I think that kerosene probably did bring some of that down there to the very bottom because it's, so, okay, right here. Okay, see? A little bit, but then you go to the very bottom, pretty good bit. Now the Fairlane Oil Pan has been sitting for a while, but you see it's nasty. Which is the one I'm gonna use, so it don't really matter that one's cleaned, but I'm gonna just, I don't think it hurt anything. Don't know exactly how good it really did. Of course, it would have been best for me to take the thing to a machine shop, but I got screwed by the last machine shop, so, and I think the other guy in town, he's half retired or something. I bought these containers at Walmart. They were actually on clearance in the school supply section. I bought them specifically to soak these pistons in something to clean them up. You see how, that's where I kind of wiped it off already up there, but they're pretty nasty. So I'm gonna soak them in vinegar, see what happens with that, because I actually had one of these. I thought I had one that had a stuck. Yeah, this one has the second ring is stuck. So I am going to soak this in some vinegar in here and see if that frees up and if it cleans it and all that kind of stuff. See that wrist pin's kind of stiff on that one too. That is the number, let's see what number it is. 8, number 8. So we'll check it again in a few days. I don't know if anyone watched my crankshaft diagnostics on my 289, but this is how a crankshaft should move. It's better to be too loose than too tight, because you don't want any friction right here. I got this thing loaded up. I'm about to go to the car wash and wash it off. I got it strapped to this pallet just so it stays on the pallet. I'm gonna unstrap it when I get there and get it clean. Hopefully it's morning time. Well, it's like 11 o'clock, which is morning time for me, pretty early. So See how clean we can get it. Ended up going wash soap, engine cleaner, wash soap, rinse. And $5 was too much. Should have used about 3. So I had the air compressor built up before I left, and I blew all this off with air, and the wetness you're seeing now is where I coated it with WD-40 to keep it from rusting anymore. There's still some rust right here. I'm gonna have to hit that with a needle scaler to see if I can get that off as much as I can. If not, I mean, it's not a super big deal, but that's about, at least I got all the mud off of it, so that was good. I don't know if I showed this lifter valley or not, how clean that it came, but pretty clean. This is that number 8 rod from earlier with the stuck ring. The piston ring did come unstuck, but I had to pop it out with a screwdriver. I have to check that ring land real good. So here's a tip for cleaning the carbon out of your ring lands after you've soaked this in degreaser and gotten the piston pretty clean. What you do is you take one of the old piston rings, break it in half like that, and you take the end, not the end you broke it at, but the other end, and you take it in here, and what you do is you scrape all that carbon out of there. This is something my auto mechanics teacher in high school taught me, because when we were in high school we didn't have any money, and now I'm married with kids, so I still don't have any money. Do you see that carbon? You have to do this a couple of times, but it'll clean that carbon out of there. I polished the crank myself. I wet sanded it with WD-40 and sandpaper. Started with 800 grit, then I went to 1200, then 1500, then 2000, and I finished up with Mother's mag polish. Then I cleaned it with a lint-free cloth and brake cleaner, and I cleaned the oil galleys with a rifle brush. Then I cleaned the galleys again in case any bristles fell off of the rifle brush with brake cleaner and compressed air. I am checking these oil clearances right now. Like I said, the crank is not perfect, but it's good enough. Oh yeah, I actually do have ARP bolts for the mains. I already had those. See you next time.